Here we will see identity operator. So how do we define identity operator? So any information about the system is contained in this wave function psi. So in general it's a function of position and time. So this is your wave function. So in Dirac notation, if you represent this, you will represent it this way. This is the Dirac notation. Now you call it state function. So same thing, wave function, state function, same thing. So if you take the case of Stern-Gerlach experiment, so in Stern-Gerlach experiment, if your concerned observable is spin, then what are the possible eigenkets? One is the up spin. So this is the symbol. This says it can be in this state or it can be in the down state, right? So this is the way you represent. So it's not necessary that you represent this way. Earlier we have represented it this way. So there are many possible ways to represent. So this will also do, some will represent by some label, let's say 1, and then with another label. So this is also a way of representing, right? So in general I can say since it has only 2 states, it's 1 and 2, so it can have n possible state in some cases, right? So in that case you label it with n, or you can label it with I. So I1 means first state, I2 means second state, right? So identity operator is defined this way. Sum over all I. So this is the identity operator. So what is this? This is the ket. And what is this? Bra. So outer product of ket and bra results in an operator, and this we call identity operator. Let's understand this. So in your Euclidean space, any vector v is there. You can represent it in any basis. Suppose you represent it in I, j and k basis. I basis, j basis and k basis, right? So what you are going to have in that case? You are going to have vx component I cap, vy component j cap, vz component k cap, right? So now you change the coordinate system, right? Now you call it k prime, I prime and j prime. So if you want to represent it in this basis, you can do it. In that case there will be some other coefficient, I prime, j prime, k prime, right? So this vector can be represented in either of the 2 bases. There can be many bases. So there are many ways to represent this vector. So what you did here is that what all bases were there? I, j and k. And in another case your basis was I prime, j prime, k prime. So you can choose to represent in any basis. You can define more number of bases. You can define r, theta and phi basis also, right? So there are many possible bases. So what is the operation you will perform here? So this is your vector v. So if you want to represent, let's say in I prime basis, what you will do? You will take the dot product with I prime right? And then multiply with I prime. So this will give you one component. Then again, to get the j component, what you will do, you will take the dot product of this vector and then multiply with j prime, then k prime. This is how you do. All right, so what is this one? This one is going to be vx prime, this one is going to be vy prime, and this one is going to be vz prime. So thing to notice here is that if you want to represent this vector in I, j and k basis, what you will do, again you will repeat the same procedure with I, multiply with I, v multiply with j, v multiply with k, right? So what this becomes? This becomes vx, this becomes vy, and this becomes vz. So likewise you can represent it in r, theta and phi basis also. So what is the procedure that you are following here? So if you see, I am taking this one common, right? So in bracket what you are getting? I. So let's suppose this plus j plus k. So this is what you are getting, correct? So in this case it will be dot product with I prime I, right? So in bracket notation, what you do, in bracket notation, this one you represent with ket, and this one you represent with bra. Okay, so this is the operator notation you are doing, and you will operate with then you will take j, k, okay, and now here you will operate it on vector v. So same thing, you see, this is how you were multiplying, but in bracket notation you can multiply it this way. So when this will operate on this, what you will get, operate on this plus all right. So this will become some number. In this case it was vx, this was a number, vy, this was a number, this was a number, right? So this will become vx, some number is there, vy, and then vz. So this is the way to represent in bracket notation, correct? So you also know that this whole thing is nothing but a vector v. So if you see here, this whole thing is what? This whole thing is nothing but an identity operator, because this is equal to v vector here, right? So this has to be identity operator. So going by this way, you can represent any wave function, right? So this is a wave function. If you write it in a bracket notation, so this is a wave function. This contains all the information. And suppose you want to measure some observable. Let's suppose you want to measure momentum. So uh, there can be many possible eigenkets where momentum, which all momentums are possible. So let's suppose those are represented by pi. So p1, p2, p3, all those things are there. So in case of Stern-Gerlach experiment, there were only two alternatives: spin up, spin down. But in general, there can be n number of possibilities. So you can expand this. You can expand this wave function in momentum eigenkets. How? Just you have to apply this psi is there. If you apply identity, the psi will remain same. So when you apply identity, what happens? How this identity operator will look? So this identity operator is nothing but the sum of all eigenkets. So p sub I, p sub. So when you operate here, what you get? So you get this thing. So this will be some number. So let's suppose this number is ci and then pi. So you see, you have represented this wave function in momentum basis. So you can represent any wave function in any of the basis. So you can this wave function you can write in position basis also. So in that case, what will happen? There will be some other coefficient. Let's suppose ti and all these position bases are possible. So you see, there are many ways you can represent this wave function. So you can represent it in any basis. So for Stern-Gerlach case, if you see, so this was your beam of electron or beam of silver atom. So this beam of silver atom, it was passing through magnetic field, and then it is splitted into two. Either it went up or it went down. So there were two alternatives. So here, how do you represent this wave function? This is your wave function, and since you are interested in measuring what? Spin. So what you will do, you will operate this with an identity operator. Which identity operator you will take? You will take identity operator in spin basis. So this is your identity operator. This is an identity operator. So it will be either in a plus state or it will be in a minus state. Since there are only two possibilities, so you have taken the two sum. So when you write it, what you get? So you see this one, this is nothing but a ket, So bracket, this will result in a number, this will result in a number. So let's suppose this one is C1 and this one is C2. So you see, we have written now this wave function for the silver atom as a linear combination of two eigenkets. So these eigenkets corresponds to possible spin. So either spin is up or spin is down, and on measurement you will get one of the two possible eigenkets. So hope you have understood. So what you have to learn from this video is that identity operator uh, helps in expanding any wave function in the desired basis. So in the eigenkets of desired observable. So here we have expanded in the eigenkets of spin observable. So you can expand in the eigenkets of position observable also. You can expand it in energy observable also, right? So this identity operator helps in that expansion. Thanks for watching.